I believe that you already have your XAMPP or WAMP set up already.
Yes, I have my exam set up already.
Okay. So, so today we'll be looking at from what we have here. We'll be looking at getting started with PHP. Since you already have your XAMPP installed already or WAMP installed already, so we'll just go straight to the other part of this thing,
Okay, sir.
the task for today. So we'll be looking at introduction to PHP. So you said before now you'll be writing PHP. Please can you briefly tell me like what PHP is all about, what you understand by the word PHP?
Okay, to my knowledge, PHP, and the acronym is Hypertext Preprocessor. So it's a server-side scripting language used for writing back-end language, and it also works hand in hand with XAMPP. So for you to be able to write and render PHP on a browser, you have to need the assistance of a XAMPP, or if you are using WAMP or any other this thing, uh, operating system. So it depends on the operating system you are using. So like mine is Windows operating system, so I use XAMPP to render it on the on the browser.
Okay,
So
let me
we are
let
page,
me pay attention to something. Can you hear me? So
sir.
okay, let me ask you something. You said that PHP is server side language. What do you mean by server side language? Or your own understanding, what do you understand by server side language?
Server side language.
Yes.
Um, we have let's say for example now like PHP, like HTML and CSS. As you are writing, the way you are writing them, the way you are writing them, you can render them on your this thing on your Google Chrome and be seeing them immediately. You understand?
Yes. Hello?
PHP, you need let's say a web browser, and I don't think, maybe if you get that, I think that's the little idea I have about the question you asked. So I don't know if that is correct also.
Yeah, you're actually correct, but let me just throw light on it. Now, when we say PHP is a server-side language, it means that your browser cannot execute PHP code, just like the way your browser executes your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript code. You get your browser cannot do that. So, it's the server that actually executes PHP code. PHP code is being executed in the server, then returns back to your browser as a HTML, this thing, tags or data you get. So that is it. It means that your PHP is being executed in the server, not actually in your browser. The execution happens in the server, and that's the reason why we actually use XAMPP.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, my network was misbehaving. So where
Okay.
did I stop?
Okay, so we're actually looking at introduction to PhD. So from your explanation, I said you are actually right. But let me just throw more light on it so that we'll be on the same page. So just as we said, or just as we have established already that PHP is a server-side language. When we say a server-side language, it means that your PHP code is being executed in the server, not the way your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is being executed in your browser. PHP is not being executed in your browser. Nothing happens in the browser. What you just see in the browser is just the output and not the execution. The actual execution happens in your server. That's why we normally install XAMPP when we are working on local machine. When we are working on local, we have to install XAMPP. So the XAMPP or one, depending on the operating system you you are working with, depending on the operating system of your system. It's either you install one if you are a Windows user, you install one if you are a Mac Linux user, you can use XAMPP to do that, or MAMP. When if you are a Mac user, you can use MAMP for that. While XAMPP is a cross-platform, it works both on Mac and both on Windows system. So that's this it. So the XAMPP or WAMP serves as a server in our local machine. It serves as a server that helps us to execute our PHP code. That helps us to execute our PHP code. So that is it. So now, for instance, if we are looking at now in a restaurant, for example, in a restaurant, now the your HTML, your HTML and CSS is just like a menu that is the structure, the structure of your data, the structure and style of your information in the website. That is just how your CSS and your HTML is in your website. Then the JavaScript is like the waiter at your table, waiting for the client to get information from the client. Right? While the PHP now is the kind of the self indicating, who indicating the server, who that is doing everything. You understand that is doing the cooking and all of that. So the browser places an order. When the browser places an order, that is a request. When a request is being sent to the server, is the PHP that processes it on the server, gets the data, and then will do the code. So that is how the whole stuff works.
Mm.
I don't know if it's kind of more clear now. So when we say a PHP is a server-side language, you have a more clear understanding of what that means.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So let's look at the functionalities. So we are working based on the 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 outline of the code. So we're not going outside the outline of the code. So we'll be looking at the functionality. Now we understand what PHP is. So it's a hypertext preprocessor and it's also a server-side language. Now, what is the functionality of PHP? What is the functionalities of PHP? Why do we have to use PHP? Now, one, it helps us to generate dynamic content. You know, if you are working with your normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can actually add code information on your website and it will be there. But if you need something that is dynamic, if you need something that is dynamic based on the users and all of that, you have to use PHP. And it's not just PHP, but course to set up a PHP. There are other languages, there are other programming languages you can use to do this. But on this thing, we are using PHP for it. So PHP is one of those programming languages can use to generate dynamic content. That's one functionality of PHP. It interacts with your database. So you cannot actually interact with your database using your HTML, your CSS, or your JavaScript directly with your database. You must use PHP to interact with your database. That is one functionality of PHP. That it helps us to interact with our database. So before we can do our CRUD operations, which is to create, to read data, to delete and update data, we must use PHP. We must use PHP for that to interact with our database. PHP also helps us to manage our sessions. Help us to manage our session. It also helps us to process fund data, our website. So PHP covers over 75% of the web, including major platforms like WordPress, Joomla, and all of that. So you can see that PHP is a very good and robust programming language. So it powers the CMS like a WordPress. Hope you know WordPress.
Yes, yes.
So, so that is to say that PHP is still relevant tomorrow because all these platforms are not all these platforms still need PHP to function. So they are being powered by PHP. So that is to say that PHP is still relevant. So you have your sound, your this thing already installed. Since you have that, you are going to skip that. You are going to skip that. Um, okay, please can you just open your Zamp? Can you set up your Zamp? Can you on it? Let me see. Did you get that?
Yes. Can I share
Okay.
my screen? I'm trying to.
Yes, share your screen.
Where can I get the screen sharing option? Trying to look for it.
Okay. After your start camera, after your start camera tab, you will see another tab, the third icon. Have you seen it? The third icon.
After,
After your camera, your start camera
okay,
icon, you will see it.
okay, I've seen it. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay, I've on it. It's working already.
Okay. So can you locate the folder where you have your sound? Locate
This is my
let me see.
sound.
Okay. Open your sound. So do you know the function of this HT, your HT dot? Do you know what the HT dot works?
Yes.
Okay.
So and this is where all everything that you want to be rendered on your uh, web browser is situated. So any code you want to write and allow and make sure it shows on the web browser. This is where it's supposed to be.
Okay. So technically we say that your history dot or your www folder is the root directory of your server. It
Okay.
is the web server is the root directory you get. So that is the technical term we can use for it. You know that when you place any project and you access it, it will render in the browser. So that is to tell you that your HT dot is your web server root directory. So so for our project to, to start, it must be in that in this folder, your HT dot folder. So okay, this is the project you are working on already, right?
Yes, yes. This one I'm just testing something. Not really something.
Can I see the folder you are working
Sir?
on? The folder that you are working on, the last folder.
Ah, why are you outside? Meeting. Okay. Um, I've not really had any class together yet. So the first class, I was not present. Then the second class, I not use my laptop that day. So I've not really done any. We just spoke with word of mouth, and I was using my phone that day. So and then I think this Tuesday we were supposed to meet, but they say it was a public holiday. So this is my official first class using a laptop.
Oh, okay. So now is go back to your hasty dot and create a folder.
So this Bincom class folder, I created it in this thing. Okay, I should create another folder.
For this using your background is actually noisy.
Sir?
Your background is actually noisy.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. So open the project in your VS Code.
Okay, yes, yes. And that's another method. Okay. I like my phone okay, I'm not using my laptop. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I've opened the folder.
Okay. Let's create a folder. Let's create a file called index.php. So using it to test our code and all of that. So just as you already know, your every programming language has their own extension, their file extension, code and file extension. So since is a PHP project, we are using dot PHP extension. extension. Please, can you mute your this thing?
Okay.
Mute your mic. Mute your mic. Better. Better. Okay. I think let me share my screen so that you can stop sharing so that you can see my screen. Can you see my screen now? Please, you can mute yourself. Just that your background is actually noisy. So can you see my screen now? Can you confirm if you can see my screen? Hello, Isaiah. Unmute yourself. Just unmute yourself. Let's manage the background.
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so we'll be creating our first file. Index.php. So what we have next here is looking at PHP syntax fundamentals. How to write a PHP, how to write a PHP code, the syntax. So just as you already know, PHP starts, we have opening and a closing tag, PHP, and which is um, we can have every other thing inside here. So we can have every other thing inside here. But since your file extension is .php, you might not necessarily need this. You might not necessarily need that the closing tag, except maybe if you're working with a HTML file. In your HTML file, if we have something like if we have something like test.html, if we have something like test.html, so if we have something like this, so so to add your PHP script, you can't just have it this way without closing it. You get you must close your PHP tag. In a scenario like this, you must close it because without closing it, you will have an error. So you must close it before you can write your PHP code. So that is that for that. Then in our PHP this thing, you don't actually need this. Your code will still work fine without having this last closing tag here. You don't really need it. Sorry, my battery.
So we'll look at how to echo content, your echo statement, the outputting how to output content in PHP, how to output content in PHP. So, so how do you output content in your PHP? How do you output content in your PHP?
I think you used the word echo. It's
Echo.
echo.
Okay, that's true. We use echo statement to echo out content in PHP in the web browser for the browser to see it. So that using the echo, the HTML, this thing will not see it. So we use echo for that. So for instance, we might have our simple HTML this thing. Okay, let's use this. Okay, let's use this. There's no need. Our simple. Now we have our body tag, our head tag, and our body tag. So if we want to echo out something in this place, now all we have to do is to use our PHP opening and our PHP closing tab. So I can now say inside here, and I can say echo. Let me say hello world. Let me say hello PHP. And remember, our PHP this thing must end with a semicolon. Must end with a semicolon. So this is how we echo things out in our browser using echo statement. So this is one way of doing it. So let me solve this project. Let me solve this project. So me, I'm using Linux operating system. So and I'm using this thing. So I don't have to um, use XAMPP for this project. So there's no need of me using XAMPP. I already have PHP installed and my this thing installed already. So everything is working just for me to use this command to start up my PHP project. So with this now, it has started in the server. So this is our file. This is our index page. So the PHP, the echo statement we use here has actually rendered in our page. So so we can still go on. So this is how to echo content. So the next thing we're looking at is the comment, how to comment things out in PHP. So in commenting we have the single line comment and the multi-line comment. So I can decide for our single line comment we use this double slash for our single line comment. I can write this is a single line. This is a single line comment. So the browser will not actually execute that. So it's not that you already know why we use comments, right? Hello, Mr. Zaya.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a single line comment. The multi-line comment, we can use this for a multi-line comment. So we use this for a multi-line comment. So maybe in case you have other content you want to add in here, you can actually use this for that. Maybe if you want your comment to be this way. So this is a multi-line comment. So basically why we use comment in our project is for readability, for other developers to come and understand what we are actually doing or what we are actually building. Now in a situation whereby you are building you are building a software and all of your code there is no comment explaining each what each function is working, what this code is doing, or what um, um, this your function, why is actually like that. Then maybe the this thing, the packages you are using, you didn't explain those things in your comment. It will actually be a very big problem for the next developer to handle the code, because definitely if you are building a big project and the code base have to grow very large, so what will actually help the person that is coming back to use that project to build on top of that or to make any changes is the comment you have. The comment you have will actually be a lifesaver for the person. Even you, the owner of the project, that is how your project will that is how big your project will be. Without you having some comments, you might not even understand what you actually doing. Like you will find it difficult to figure out this thing you did, how you did it. That is just the truth. So that's why we actually use comments, not just to comment out things that we don't want our browser to execute, but actually to a kind of a mini documentation for the next person or for you when you come back again, maybe in the next 1 month, 3 months, to look at the project, or if there is anything you want to update. So the comment will actually help for you to know exactly what is actually going on. So we can still so that is that. So this is how we do our comment. We have a single line comment and we have a multi-line comment. So let's take this. Let me show you something. Oh, sorry. Let's have let's so let's look at this. Let's take something. So let's check this thing. Our view page source. Are you seeing something? So the browser is actually returning this. This is being executed by the browser itself. This is being executed by the browser itself, but this is being executed by your server. You see? So that is to verify that this thing is not browser executable. It is the server that actually executes PHP code. So now you see that when we check our view source, we have a line of code that has a p tag. This is our paragraph, and also in our code we use echo and we use a normal HTML tag. So in our view source page now, the what the server now is returning is this content strictly. So this is to tell you that our PHP code is being executed by the server. Then our normal HTML this thing is being executed by browser. And also we've also looked at the reason why we use comments in our this thing is to explain our code logic to other persons and also for future use. That's why we use comments. So we'll be looking at PHP variable. PHP variable. Before we do that, can you just um tell me what you understand by variable generally? Before we now go into, I know you've been doing PHP for a quite time now. Can you just explain to me maybe if there is anything we need to add or correct? We can do that together.
Okay, in my knowledge of mathematics, a variable is something that is not constant, that is not stable, it's always changing.
Sorry, I didn't get that. You said PHP variable is what? You say
I
variables are
say,
what?
in my knowledge of mathematics, variables are items that are not constant, they are not stable, they change per time. You understand? It's something that, okay, and for example, it can be two today, tomorrow it will be four, next tomorrow it may be five. You understand? So coming
Okay.
down to PHP now, the variables are containers. Variables are containers or stores that hold up items that are can change with time.
Oh, okay. That's right. Variables are container. Yes, for storing information. They are containers for storing information. It's information like text and numbers. You can use variables to do that, to store those information, because those information will not just how will I put it now? Like they must have something to reference them to. You get, so the A or the B cannot just exist like that. It must exist within a variable. So that is it. They are actually containers used for storing information. So and also in PHP say that variable must begin with a letter or an underscore. That a variable must begin with a letter or an underscore. So that is that is one of the rules in naming our variables. In naming our variables in PHP, one, it must start with a dollar sign, then followed by a letter or an underscore. That is to say that you cannot start your variable with just a name, like let me say a number. You can't start your variable with a number. You can't have maybe you cannot have dollar sign two as your variable name, or dollar sign 100 then later. No. So it means that first of all your variable must start with a variable, then with a letter or an underscore. So let me share my screen. So so in variable naming we say that our variable must start with a dollar sign, sorry, must start with a dollar sign. That is, we must have this then coupled with the variable name. Must So this is how we actually name our variable: dollar sign then the variable name. So how do we give our variable a name? Our variable must The name must start with a letter. It must start with a letter, or it might start with an underscore. I can say dollar sign underscore name. This is valid. This also is valid. So it must start with a name or an underscore. Our variable must not start with a number. Our variable must not start with a number. So it's either you start with letters like this, then you can have this, or you can have this, depending on what you're working on. Or you can still have underscore var name. This also works. This also works. So it all depends how you want your variable names to look like. I can decide to use camel case like this, var name. It all depends the kind of case you want to use when naming your variables, when giving your variables name. It's optional the way you want it to look like. So that is that for our variable. So our variable are case sensitive. That is to say that our variable are case sensitive. So if I have this again, it's not the same thing with the it's not the same thing with this. Sorry. It's not the same thing with this. So this and this are two different things. So PHP will treat these two things differently. So the value you have here, let me say name, let me say success, and this, They are not the same thing. So this and this are not the same thing. So maybe for instance you are referencing something and you are having in mind that you are calling this name, you are calling this name, you want to call this name, you want to get back sources, the user with the name of sources, and you are referencing this dollar sign name, the small letter name. So the value that you'll be having is test name and not sources, because PHP will not treat this to, as the same thing. They are not the same thing. So that is that. So variable are case sensitive. So we just have to be careful when naming our variable, so that because sometimes the names you give to a variable, you might be calling something else and expecting another. You might be expecting something, but the name you are referencing is different from the name you have, the name of the variable. So that is the thing. So our variable are case sensitive. So we say that PHP variable types are loosely typed. So they are loosely typed in the sense that you don't need to specify. You don't need to specify that this variable is a is an integer, or uh, is a float, or is this thing. So you don't do that in PHP. It's loosely typed. PHP understand this automatically. PHP understand this automatically. So when you are passing a number, when you are passing an integer, it understand that this variable that is coming is an integer. When you are passing a text, it understand this variable that is coming is a text, is a string. You get. So that is why we say PHP is a loosely typed language, because you don't have to specify. Unlike this other program, maybe things like Python and Node.js, where you have to, maybe TypeScript, where you have to specify that this variable, or things like Java, you have to specify that this variable that is coming, it must be an integer. We don't do that in PHP. So that is how we say that PHP is a loosely typed language. The variable types are loosely typed. You don't have to specify explicitly that this variable is an integer, or this variable is a string, or this variable is a float. You don't need to do that in PHP. So PHP understands this automatically. So let's just test what we just did now. Let me call this. I know this might be kind of boring to you, but based on the activities we have, we must pass through this. So let me say um page title is learning something, learning something. So this is our variable, and this is the content that our variable is holding. So whenever we reference this page title, we are actually calling this value that is inside. You're actually calling this value that is inside. So that is that. Then we can have a username to be John, um, the user age to be 29. So if you check, we are not explicitly telling PHP that this must be a string and this must be an integer. There is no place we are doing such. We are not doing such in any of our this thing. So Please excuse me. I'm coming. Let me feel something.
All right.
I'm coming. Let me feel something.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for that. I went outside to use myself. So we have count balance to be 120.25. And we have dollar sign is active to be true. So these are the various data type we have data types we have in PHP. So one we have a string. So this is a string. So this string, integer, float, and boolean. So these are the four data types we have in PHP. So we have a string, which takes your normal text, your normal character. Then we have integer. This is an integer. This is an integer. They are whole numbers without fractions. Then we have this also, which is a float. So float or double, you can call them double or float. So they have decimal points. So any number with decimal point is float or double. Then we have our boolean. We have our boolean which has two states. Our boolean always has two states. It's either is true, it's either true or is false. So boolean is always either true or false. So remember we've looked at echo how to render our content on the this thing. Yes. So we have to use echo. So if I do echo, so if I echo this stuff, um I can decide to the name. Okay, let me use h h1. I can use H1. I can use H1 page page title. We need to. We need to. Sorry, we need to. Sorry, I missed the last this thing. So you can actually do this to see all of that information. We have username. We have so if we so this is a strange integer float. Then boolean is one because we set it to be true. Because we set it to be true, that is why we are having one. But if we change it to false, so false, it will not show, but it's actually false. That is why it's not returning anything because it's false. But if it's true, we will see one showing that it's true. So that is why we are having. That's why we have that. So there is another this thing called var dump. Also, we use var dump. Also, we use var dump. It helps us also for debugging PHP code. Maybe you want to know exactly what this is actually this variable is actually is the kind of data type is returning. Maybe you want to maybe you are expecting a string